Well, hello. It's been a while. Uh, it's been a very busy couple days, uh, and I I like to talk about myself personally, but to make it worthwhile, part of the reason I have not uploaded a video is because of the government, the boogeyman that I blame for everything. I came back to work. I think I was able to post one video, and then my laptop died, which was not the government's fault. Only just today was I able to get fixed. However, uh, the government has made my last week very horrible because it has thrown one of my coworkers in jail for potentially the next year. Some of you may recall I made a video about never pull a rifle, a Russian rifle or a Soviet rifle on a hooker. Well, I never have done that, never solicited a hooker, and I would never own a Soviet rifle. Except for maybe an AK-47, which is a German rifle that the Soviets copied, like all their technology. Uh, uh, but I had a coworker who did, apparently. Something happened where he ended up in a hotel room with a hooker. He thought she was robbing him. He pulled a gun on her that he happened to have a Mosin Nagant World War II rifle. Then he did the biggest mistake of his life. Rather than maybe just demand that she give him back the money, he called the police thinking that they would come and, oh, thank you, Mr. with the gun, for finding this criminal. Have a nice day. We'll take her to jail and let us know if you'd like to press charges. They arrested him for kidnapping. Just a second. I'm talking to Katie Oteka. Yeah, he's on Facebook. Making a video, bro. Talk to you later. Sorry, guys. I just had to do that. Anyway, that was back in June or July, and he eventually pled guilty because kidnapping carries a mandatory life sentence in this state. Well, they charged him with kidnapping anyway, which, regardless of what he did, was not anywhere close to kidnapping in the classic. Let's charge him with something that's super extreme. That way he'll plead to something lower. So he pled guilty to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which I think it must be just below a felony, or maybe it is a felony. I'm not sure. I think, doesn't a felony mean a year in prison? And that's what he got sentenced to. Anyway, during these months, his attorney, who of course is not his attorney, it's the state's attorney, appointed to him, but it's the state running it, and the prosecutor all seem to think that the punishment he should receive is a year of in-house arrest, probation. He'd be allowed to work, but he couldn't leave the state, which he's from Colorado. His wife is in Colorado. His 3 kids are in Colorado, but we work in West Virginia. So the day of his trial, or of his sentencing, which was, I guess, maybe about 10 days ago, his wife flew in to give him moral support. I saw him that morning. We talked about work. I wished him good luck. Everything, we assumed would be fine. And he didn't come into work. And I was reluctant to call because I thought if he's not telling me anything, it must be bad. And my boss called me about an hour after I was supposed to go home and said, he said, you haven't heard? Well, he got sentenced to a year in jail, and they cuffed him right there and took him out. And fortunately, we had another worker around, several grades down from this guy, unfortunately, and so I started working with him. I got home, then talked to his wife, who of course spent the next couple days crying, waiting for her flight to come home. And interestingly enough, the judge in this case delivered a soliloquy about how bad it was for foreign workers to be stealing West Virginian jobs. Basically, he thought it was an affront to the good people of West Virginia that people from other parts of the United States were working here. Now, although most people seem to think that there should be free trade within the United States, his argumentation and logic is very similar to all the protectionist, pro-tariff, anti-free trade arguments that we hear about international trade, but very rarely hear so explicitly with intrastate trade. Anyway, I guess he was thinking that if he threw a foreigner in jail, then maybe they would hire a West Virginian, uh, which is unlikely since the people with the experience to do this type of work, not that it's a super hard thing to learn, but tend to be from certain areas. The oil industry is heavily concentrated in certain areas, and if you want to build an oil rig, if you want to drill an oil well, which is not, I'm an ancillarily related to that, you are going to tend to have to hire people from Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and a few of the western states. Texas obviously being the cliched, but honestly the big one. People around West Virginia don't know how to do that. They know how to mine coal. If we discovered a huge coal mine, say where I'm from in Michigan, we wouldn't know how to do anything about it. We'd have to hire a whole bunch of people, many of them coming from Appalachia and West Virginia, to our betterment. Anyway, he got sentenced to jail, so plan scrapped. My boss decided he had to hire a new guy. He actually did decide to hire a local, so we hired a guy from West Virginia who is an Iraq War veteran and who I've been having the week to work with. And let me tell you, he also has his gripes with the government. Now, he's pretty unsophisticated politically, just like the other guy was. And he has not ever been charged with a crime or convicted of a crime, but he has had the misfortune of fathering a few too many children and to have drawn the attention of CPS or whatever the equivalent is in this state. And it is actually quite amazing to me the hurdles that he is being forced to jump through without ever having been even charged with a crime. Now this guy, he seems like a very nice guy. He is a hard worker. There's a lot that he's not telling me. He basically wanted me to write him a letter to his lawyer, and to do that he gave me access to his email, which revealed to me that he has 4 children through 3 different women. He's 26, and at least 4 children that I could verify through attorney-client exchanges. Would not surprise me if there were more. And apparently what's happened is these kids have grandparents, and the grandparents want these kids. And they simply have alerted CPS, and then CPS, or its equivalent in West Virginia, has come down on this guy and his various partners in an extremely hard way. And it is incredible, really, the degree to which they are forcing him to do things. They've already taken custody of most of his kids, and they're basically saying that he has to break up with whatever girlfriend he has. He can't live with them. She has to have a job. They're asking for details about the job, which I'd just assume not give. They want to talk to me, which I'd just assume not talk to them. And this is similar to the my first coworker. When we thought he was going to be under house arrest, he told me that I can no longer have my guns with me because he's not allowed to be in a building that has guns. And I said, it's not his house. It's not my house. And I haven't been charged with anything. Why should I have to give up my guns, the possession of my guns, because he's been accused of a crime? It doesn't make any sense. Likewise, why should I have to answer questions from some lawyer or some worker in a bureaucracy about the work whereabouts, even confirming that he does, of this gentleman that I'm now working with? It's very aggravating. The thing that pisses me off the most is the hypocrisy, because they're talking about things like he told them that he got a job, and then they basically asserted that he's a liar, and so this is a problem. Have these bureaucrats ever watched the news and seen the degree to which their political masters lie or don't adhere to family values, the degree to which they're whoremongers or drug addicts, or that they do cocaine, or that they solicit prostitution, or that they have homosexual affairs with young boys, or any number, let alone kill people? If not directly, at least vicariously, they don't apply any of these. All their bureaucratic malice is directed at basically helpless people. This guy's not that sophisticated. He has very little money, and uh, he cannot afford to assert himself legally. He can't. He doesn't have the know-how, and he doesn't have the money, and so they are able to be, I don't know, they get to exercise that little tiny moniker of authority, and they revel in it. And this guy is not guiltless, I don't think. I mean, he's not guilty of a crime, but I think he has problems because he I knew he had 4 kids, and I was asking him, at one point uh, I asked him about his kids, and he named 3, and I said, well, what about this 4th one who I knew about from the emails? He goes, well, he blah blah blah. Okay, well, bad call on him. He's also someone who is frequently citing, I'm a good guy, I'm a good guy, I go to church, and he also says, interestingly, that he's against adultery, and he's a big guy into marriage, which is amazing since he actually was married, and as far as I know, did not father any of the children during the marriage with other women, but he did father. he did. He's got a marriage sandwich, and he's got kids on either side of it, uh, which is I find interesting. But it's not criminal, and it doesn't give the state the right to own either him or his offspring, however desultory their conception may have been, by whatever standard that would be. Uh, so, and then they say he can't be on prescription drugs. Apparently, he is drug free. He certainly keeps saying that. He says in the military he always passed tests. That's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that's a problem. But uh, you know, why doesn't he have a job? Why is he working enough hours? Blah blah blah. They're ruling over this guy, and even though I do have quite a few qualms about him personally, I mean, we get along very. He's a nice guy, but there are character things that are discomforting to me. I think that's a whole other video about how you interact with people. Uh, he also kind of takes the, well, we've been working together, and so we're friends, and we are friendly, and I don't have a problem with becoming a friend, but he seems to think that I'm automatically owing him my trust now, and I certainly don't. But that's beside the point. He hasn't been convicted of anything, and I do know that pretty well from reading the emails between the lawyers and him, and yet they're able to basically run his life. I mean, they can set curfews. It's really amazing, and it just reaffirms everything I believe, that you should stay as far away from them as you possibly can. And good luck to everybody in trying to do that, or be in a position where you can fight them. As a bachelor, I feel like I have less on the line. I mean, he started. I spewed a lot of anti-government rant before I knew all the details, and then part of it's sticking, but it's kind of he's not the most intellectual person, so I don't know how worthwhile that is, because the direction isn't going to really help. But he's like, well, I'm going to write a letter, and honestly, I don't know. His kids are in the balance, and I don't know how wise that is to become the activist at that point. And he's not. I'm not saying he's about to do that, but I think we bachelors are better, or anybody who feels that they're financial. If you're rich enough and you can have a lawyer, it's possible. So anyway, that's what's been going on. Rage Against the Clown has made a more than 2-hour response to me. That'll be interesting. I have not been able to watch it, and I don't know if I ever will. Honestly, 2 hours is a long time. If I was unemployed, no problem, but I'm not unemployed. I did watch he made a second, he had added to the 2 hours, and I watched about a minute of that on my iPhone, which unfortunately does not work very well in West Virginia. And I do have something to say about it, so perhaps I will. But anyway, that's what's going on. Stay away from the government. It's bad.